New York Republican gubernatorial nominee Lee Zeldin spent the final day of his campaign in the Bronx at a subway stop where a stabbing occurred on Sunday. The Republican congressman hammered Governor Kathy Hochul while discussing his top campaign issue, addressing the rise in violent crime. Zeldin has made public safety priority number one and said that should he win, he will declare a crime emergency in his first day in office. Recent polling shows Hochul still in the lead, but Zeldin claims momentum is on his side. He is counting on a larger than usual share of New York City's vote and a blowout upstate to make him the first Republican to win a New York gubernatorial election since George Pataki in 2002.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. New Yorkers of all walks of life are uniting as New Yorkers to take back our streets, to take back our subways. People have said enough. This isn't about Republican versus Democrat. This is about all of us uniting. You know, we've been in this situation decades past where people who are in government were trying to lecture the public that this is perception. There's nothing to see here. Look away. And it wasn't until New Yorkers united in the early 90s that they decided that they were going to take back our streets. Over the course of these last few weeks of the campaign, it's presented an opportunity for candidates for the governor, for people running for offices at different levels to talk about their vision on the issues that matter most to New Yorkers. Well, the issue that I hear about a lot from New Yorkers is that they care about wanting to be able to feel safer on the streets and on the subways. Kathy Hochul has made a strategic calculation. She wanted to just get people to look away, stop focusing on this issue. When we were at our debate a couple weeks ago, question after question after question asked to us about the topic of fighting crime. I pointed out that here we are almost halfway through the debate. We're almost entirely through the conversation about fighting crime, and she still had not yet spoken about the whole locking up the bad guy aspect of fighting crime. She could have taken it as a hint, a suggestion. She could have used that opportunity to have that light bulb now go off in her head and say, oh yeah, this is my idea. These are my ideas in order to lock up the bad guy. But instead she said she doesn't understand why this is so important to me. And when she said she doesn't understand why this is so important to me, she is saying that she doesn't understand why this is so important to all New Yorkers who care about this issue. She dug herself quite a hole. Now, what does she do when you dig yourself a hole? She kept digging. She went on MSNBC last weekend, and on MSNBC, she started talking about how this was all just some conspiracy. She says that it was data denial. Now, New Yorkers don't want to be lectured that what they see with their own eyes, what they read about, the news stories, the reality on the ground, they don't want to be told that this is just a conspiracy. So what does she do? She's now dug an even bigger hole. She kept digging. She went on CNN about 2 or 3 days ago, and on the morning show, she didn't realize that it was a split screen. The other half of the screen, little to her knowledge, was actually showing all of the different categories of crime that were going up while she was trying to lecture this narrative. Look away. There's nothing to see here. It's just a big conspiracy. So what did she do? She kept digging. She went on MSNBC over the weekend after that CNN interview, and the MSNBC host cut her off and said, I don't feel safe. When I go to the pharmacy, everything is locked up. I'm not riding the subway. She had a rally over the weekend with former President Bill Clinton, and during the rally, President Clinton was joking around about this, joking around about what brings us all here today, why we are here. After that, he then starts mocking us focused on the need to fight crime. If anyone's trying to understand in advance why Kathy Hochul is going to lose this race tomorrow, you can look no further, if you needed to just look at one thing, is that New Yorkers are not monolithic. You can't just paint somebody who is a registered Democrat and say because they are a registered Democrat, that means that they are just going to vote one particular way, that they don't think for themselves, that they don't have their own ideas, their own vision. And what they really want is to see action. Last year, we introduced our Secure Our Streets plan for New York. It's focused on rolling back pro-criminal laws like cashless bail. Even Mayor Adams says that judges should have discretion to weigh dangerousness. He's right. Mayor Adams says that we should amend the Raise the Age law. He's right. We all need to work together, and that will be the first call on Wednesday morning to Mayor Adams, because we have to represent our mutual constituents. And we're focused on working together to make these streets safer. We also need district attorneys doing their job. Right here in the Bronx, there was a guy who was knocked cold into a coma named Jesus Cortez. It was all caught on video. The NYPD charged originally attempted murder, and while Jesus Cortez was in a coma, the glove that knocked him into the coma wasn't like some regular glove. This thing was a weapon. It was like steel on the end of it. The district attorney reduced that charge to misdemeanor assault and harassment, and then due to New York's cashless bail laws and the fact that you can't weigh discretion, you can't weigh dangerousness, as a result, this person ends up back out on the street, even though he's a convicted sex offender out on parole. So the reality here on the ground is that we have some district attorneys who need to do a better job. On day one, Alvin Bragg came into office, and his day one memo said all across the board there were all different kinds of offenses he just wasn't going to charge at all. All sorts of other offenses he was going to charge as lesser included offenses. If you're the district attorney and you want a change to a law, you go to that body that created the law and you advocate for a change. What you don't do as the prosecutor, as the district attorney, is just say, we're not going to enforce all these different laws across the board. Again, New Yorkers, you can't paint everybody with one broad brush. New Yorkers want to make sure that our streets are safe. They want to make sure our subways are safe. There are a couple dozen or so proposals on our Secure Our Streets plan, which has only expanded since then. On the first day in January, we are going to declare a crime emergency here in the state of New York. Plan A is for the state legislature to come to the table. I want to work with them. So far, they've indicated that not only do they not want to make changes to the laws that are already on the books, but they feel like they haven't passed enough pro-criminal laws. That's not the answer. When Mayor Adams was calling for judges to have discretion to weigh dangerousness, Danny O'Donnell, a white Manhattan, it's Rosie's brother, a white Manhattan Democrat liberal assemblyman, went after Eric Adams. He says that dangerousness is code for black. He was suggesting that the black mayor was proposing dangerousness because Mayor Adams was racist. I mean, think about their logic. They don't just stonewall you, they personally attack you. We had one of our supporters actually at a Kathy Hochul event, and she ended up getting choked. It's all caught on video. It's been reported by some in the media. And Brad Hoylman, a state senator, called on me to condemn the victim. Political violence in all forms, in any form, is not okay. I don't care whether you support one side or another side, Republican, Democrat, Independent. There's no room ever for political violence in any way, shape, or form. So now, just this morning, you want to talk subway crimes? Kathy Hochul says it's about data denying when we're here talking about this. This morning, a man was stabbed in the chest at the 111th Street station in South Richmond Hill in Queens. A 25-year-old was slashed in the face at the Cypress Hills station in Brooklyn. A 54-year-old man was stabbed in the arm at the 149th Street Grand Concourse station in the Bronx. That was this morning, okay? Yesterday, there was a stabbing that took place right here. A 44-year-old was stabbed in the neck by somebody half of his age, standing on the number 6 platform by a 24-year-old, Jared Johnson. Fled from the station, but was later arrested on assault and harassment charges. Now, some people want to talk about these crimes as if the only crimes that are taking place are crimes with guns. And by the way, we should be talking about crimes committed with these illegal firearms. That's a real issue. But what we can't ignore is the reality that there are all different kinds of crimes that are being committed across this city. When you heard that MSNBC host talking about how when she goes to the pharmacy that her stuff is locked up, this is a crime that has an impact. And people are emboldened. Go talk to the bodega workers, the owners, the supermarkets. Their product is getting stolen, sometimes by the same person, just coming in and out frequently, and they just take it off the shelves. They don't care if you're filming them. There are people who are afraid of being pushed in front of an oncoming subway car. There are people who are concerned about getting stabbed and the other crimes that are taking place. We need to hire more law enforcement. Okay, the NYPD is having a year where they are bleeding out their ranks, more than we have seen in a very long time. Kathy Hochul said that part of her solution, it was primarily twofold. A couple weeks before the election, no coincidence, day after a bad poll, she says that she was going to have more cops in the subways. Okay, you have my attention. We've been talking about this for a long time. She's talking about mandatory overtime from NYPD already stretched thin. We have to hire more law enforcement. Yes, and you're taking people off of other beats to monitor this one. Secondly, she said that we have people who are emotionally disturbed people on the street, and they need to be removed from the street. Okay, you have my attention. We've been talking about this for a while. Her grand solution was 50 beds. She was missing a zero, 2 zeros. We could debate that, but she just doesn't get it. There are people on the street and they're causing confrontation. It's affecting behavior. People either aren't riding the subway. If they are riding the subway, they're doing it at different hours. If they're Sikh, they're taking off their turban. If they're Jewish, I hear from people who are taking off their yarmulke. There are people who are hugging poles and grabbing guardrails. What we should have happen right now, every elected official at every level of government should all be talking about how they understand the crisis that exists, that they are committed to doing absolutely everything in their power to fix it. They'll work with absolutely anyone to be able to get this done. But unfortunately, you only have some people willing to talk about these issues, while other people are trying to mock us for being here talking about these issues. Other people trying to tell us that we should look away, that you all are denying data by even doing the reporting that you're doing. And it is only until, and history has proven, when we all stand up together to work together on solutions, that we will be able to turn this around. Tomorrow, voters go to the polls. And all across this state, New Yorkers of all walks of life with a breaking point in this state and a passion and a desire to save this state, head to the polls to be able to change the course of New York. This current direction does not work. Kathy Hochul is not getting this job done. I look forward to doing everything I can to make the streets of New York safer, to make our subways safer, to make sure we are rolling back pro-criminal laws, we are firing weak district attorneys who refuse to enforce the law, and make sure that we are backing our men and women in blue. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my running mate, Alison Esposito. 25 years in the NYPD. She was the Deputy Inspector Commanding Officer of the 70th Precinct. In Brooklyn. If Allison stayed on the force, she would have soon become a chief, but she retired to be my running mate, to be our state's next lieutenant governor. And as I bring Allison up, I just want to say thank you to everyone else who's here joining us, joined by my former colleague in the state Senate, Ruben Diaz, former New York City councilman, Ruben Diaz. He's a Democrat. Bob Holden, sitting New York City councilman, Democrat. Steve Kaufman, former state assemblyman, supporting us, Democrat. Dov Hiken, former state assemblyman, Democrat. Yes. He's supporting us. Steve Kaufman. This is, Steve Kaufman. This is about all of us together united. Forget the party labels. Yes, we have to get this done. Allison.
Allison. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I actually brought out the big guns this morning. That's right. Yeah. So we had a crime issue in the 70s and the 80s.